Hi there. We all have faced challenges, crisis situations in our lives where we just don't know what to do. We feel overwhelmed. We feel confused. We feel stressed, anxious, and there's no clarity on how to respond to the situation. In fact, we often are in such a state of fight, flight, freeze that we can't respond. We can only react, allowing those repressed emotions that we've been holding down the whole time to bubble up and explode. There's many reasons why we get into these situations. It could be the end of a relationship. It could be a health crisis and anything in between. But the point is, we have a choice in these challenging situations in our lives. Before I go into the choice point here, we need to be very clear that our life experience is here to help us return to unity, to love. And every challenge that we face, I've talked about this many times, is a direct reflection of the unhealed wounds within us, keeping us separate and in fear. So when we are faced with a challenge and it's really, really major, you can be sure that there have been points in your life, in your past, where you've had a previous opportunity to go through the motions of learning this lesson. Like a tap on the shoulder, turning into a slap in the face and then a punch. It gets louder and louder and louder. The universe is trying to wake us up. What are we trying to be awoken from? The program, from the unconscious automaton programming to become conscious sovereign beings. So every challenge that you face, you can be sure that this is a little reminder that you have work to do still. You're not in flow. There are wounds to heal. And so we have the choice to stop the cycle of this struggle in this particular wounding. What am I talking about? When we go through a crisis, certain emotions are challenged and come up. So perhaps it's someone has broken up with you, or you've discovered that someone's been unfaithful. What emotion is the core that comes up? It's heartbreak, heartache, mistrust, feeling abandoned, rejected. Now, these are core wounds. Okay, so you can be sure that deep within you is a core wound of heartbreak, abandonment, and rejection that you have not healed, that originated far, far long ago when you were still either a baby or a child. And so life, the universe, the divine is trying to wake you up to be able to bring those emotions up and be completed. To be completed. What do I mean by completed? To be fully felt and released. Now, this is shadow work, which I talk about all the time. So when you're in a challenging situation, there is an opportunity knocking at your door to do some shadow work, to cast some light on the shadows that have been lurking there your whole life, trying to come up, trying to be seen and heard, trying to be released. If you choose to ignore them in your new challenge, if you choose to do what you've always done, which is really the definition of insanity, when you want something to change, then you will continue to snowball this blocked energy within you. It will get bigger and louder, and the next time, be careful, it could be huge. So we really don't want to get to the point where life is knocking us over, trying to get our attention to heal these core wounds. And what do we do when we ignore them? We actually continue to disassociate. What's disassociation? It's a coping mechanism. So we don't have to feel those emotions that we first felt when we were young. that we're actually never as scary as we think they are when we really finally courageously face them and allow them to come through fully and consciously. But when we choose the other option, we choose to ignore them again. We try and change the external world and manipulate the outside circumstances to try and get everything back into your kind of order that you were hoping for. Then you can be sure that this is going to lead to worse coping mechanisms down the line. Okay, what you ignore will get bigger and louder in our evolution here as multidimensional beings having a human experience. This is what I've found, this is what many others have found is true. And when you understand this formula, this process, you can get control back. You can see that you have control, you have the free will to change this, but it takes courage because you have to face your shadows. So the other choice, the choice point, the positive, empowering choice point, is that you face your shadows consciously. You choose to allow those emotions to come up. You give yourself permission to feel those deeply repressed feelings. You give yourself permission to complete that process, to heal fully. And how do you do that? By validating and acknowledging those feelings for the first time ever. And I've talked about this, but once we shed light on a shadow, it will never, ever be the same again. We transform. So this is just a gentle reminder that if you're facing a challenge in your life, this is the universe's little tap on the shoulder or knock on the door or slap in the face, if you like, to remind you that you have wounds that need to come up to be healed, to go within, to have the courage to face what needs to come through. No more running away from you. See, I used to do this. I did this for a long time. I would run away from me, thinking that that was possible. I would change my hair or change my job, change my partner, change the city I lived in, the country I lived in. This does not work. Changing your external circumstances is the opposite of facing you and allowing the healing to take place. This is diversion, and this will lead to, as I mentioned, worse coping mechanisms down the line and far greater disassociation. And what happens when you have chronic disassociation all the time from your feelings? You shoot your nervous system. It really gets worse over time. The older we get, the less that, the more we've been avoiding feeling, allowing the flow of energy through us back and forth in our nervous system, the more that we damage that nervous system. So it's not good for you to try and fix things externally and run away from you. It just leads to problems, and I can attest to that. The solution takes courage, but it's well worth it. So don't let the universe tap you too hard next time. Face it this time, and you'll be glad you did. So I hope this has been insightful for you. Please like, subscribe, and share, and have a beautiful day. See ya.